What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of you for Vinland Saga Season 2. This is episode 20, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Yeah. Well, just like last week's episode, this episode was just as emotionally impactful considering what happened at the end of the episode. However, of course, the episode continues on with the battle, with Kettle's recruits just literally just getting slaughtered by Knut's Yam's Vikings. Like they just stand no chance against them, even though Kettle's forces outnumber them like 3-1. But it gets to the point where Snake literally calls for a retreat, and everyone just starts running away, and Kettle just stands there like just flabbergasted as to why his men are retreating, until like one of the men he questions, like pretty much one of the guys that Kettle talks to just basically just calls Kettle out, and saying is like, how does it feel to be under someone more powerful than you, because we were under someone we were serving under you for so many years, and now you're now like Kettle's like literally under the same roof as as Knut is. So this of course distracts Kettle to the point where one of Knut's Yam's Vikings ends up attacking him and supposedly just injures him, or just like gouges him in the eye.
Yeah, I find it interesting how it seems like Snake is a much more competent leader than Kettle, especially in combat, because Snake knows what he's doing, probably because he has experience as a soldier, whereas Kettle, like we're everybody's of course led to believe he's some kind of a legend and he's an experienced fighter, which in this fight he kind of proves that that's not true, considering his real like kind of lack of a real decent strategy or anything, and really just not understanding when he's beat and when he just the fact that these people that are fighting for him really aren't experienced fighters, aside from maybe Snake and his men.
Yeah. So Knut of course gets the news that that Kettle is, of course, I guess he hears that he's incapacitated. So he has one of his men go out to try to retrieve him. But at the same time, Thorgil, who swam all the way behind him, rushes from the beach and pretty much comes close to killing Knut.
Yeah, he does manage to get pretty close to killing him, but he's intercepted by Wolf, I think, one of Knut's guards, and Knut actually does end up trying to put up a fight as well, but I think when he was about to get beaten, he gets Wolf tries to defend him, and I think Thorgil does get pretty badly injured, and some of the Yam's Vikings notice what's going on, and they try to pursue or try to chase after Thorgil, so he retreats back into the ocean.
This scene was also cringe-worthy to watch, just because that Thorgil just literally just gouges Wolf, Wolf in the eye. Just like, it was really disturbing to watch that.
He desperately tries to get Wolf off of him by like gouging his eyes out, which is pretty hard to watch, because he really goes in with him trying to, at least gouging one of his eyes out, I think.
Yeah, and of course he manages to fight him off. Thorgil just decides to escape back into the sea rather than just be, slaughtered, or just rather than fight, Knut's Yam's Vikings. Of course, for obvious reasons, because I think it was like his arm got stabbed through one of Wolf's swords, so there's no way he's in a condition to defend himself. So then we switch back to the Thorfinn and the others, in which Arnheid regains consciousness long enough to essentially just say her goodbyes to both, Thorfinn and Einar, which is just, it's just almost heart-wrenching just to watch this.
Well, it's made even worse too, because she she's just so distraught at the end of her life about how she thinks that her life has just been so, unfair to her, and she just kind of laments how, just how badly she's had it, I guess, that she wonders if there's any point to her living. And it's all the more tragic too because of, she ends up dying, and it's really only after she's dead, because it would have at least been better if Thorfinn had said this before she passed on. But
I think it was wasn't it Einar who could have said this?
No, because if you remember, Thorfinn is giving this basically telling her what what his father had told that one slave in the beginning of the series about Vinland.
Oh yeah, that.
Or well, not his father, but I guess Leif Erikson had told him about Vinland. But he basically just says, talks to her about there being a land called Vinland where there's no war and slavery. But also, that it is also tragic because, of course, Einar kind of tells her how he feels like after she's pretty much already passed on too, because they also try to revive her by using some kind of a CPR or just trying to do heart palpitations. But of course it doesn't work. She's pretty much there's no way she would have survived, I don't think. So of course, she ends up dying, and it's pretty tragic, but because the way it all plays out, and of course we saw in the last episode her talking to Gardar, and it's really like the only way she could be with Gardar and her children is in the afterlife. So it's just made all the more tragic because that's the only way she can, I guess, have any real happiness.
Yeah, and shortly after that, Snake approaches them carrying a badly wounded Kettle in front of them, which causes Einar just to get into a rage to the point where he just really just wants to go up and kill Kettle right face to face. But fortunately, Thorfinn steps in to stop Einar from killing him. And then of course it just gets even more tragic when Einar just breaks down crying soon after that.
Yeah, I mean, Thorfinn has to punch him in the face to stop him, or to snap him out of it, I guess.
Yeah. Soon after that, they end up burying Arnheid's body, and of course Thorfinn decides to go off to meet with Canute to hopefully resolve the whole situation. Hopefully, but I mean, this is going to be the first time that Thorfinn and Canute are going to end up seeing each other after that whole incident at the end of season 1.
Yeah. Of course, Thorfinn believes that he could probably solve this with, non-violently. But seeing as how Canute is now, I don't know if that's likely to happen. Especially considering Canute and Thorfinn, they don't. As far as I know, they don't really have a very they don't really have a friendly relationship or anything. So I mean, I don't really see this going very well.
I mean, it's debatable. I mean, it's not. I guess initially, Thorfinn is angry at Canute for killing Askeladd, but I think Thorfinn is pretty much past that at that point, and I don't think.
Yeah.
Canute
well, the thing though is that of course Canute doesn't really know this. Canute doesn't know that Thorfinn is now just a completely different person than who he was when they last saw each other. Same thing, I guess you could say vice versa as well, that Canute has also done a complete 180.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see, where this whole conversation goes, but I think it's at the realm of possibility that Thorfinn may be able to convince Canute to stop the bloodshed, because he can tell, Canute, that Kettle is obviously wounded, and there's no reason for the battle to continue after that.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how well Thorfinn can negotiate things. Which, if he's going to go with the pacifist route, he really needs to be good with trying to negotiate with people instead of resorting to violence. But yeah, that's pretty much where the episode ends. Thorfinn is going to go confront Canute. I thought this is another just really great episode. I mean, all the episodes in this season, I would say, have just been equally as good. Some better than others, and I would say this is an example of like one of the episodes that's just because of the certain moments that happen in it that were animated from the manga. I think it's, this is probably one of the better episodes of the season. Mostly because, like, for example, this episode sort of, it's, I guess you'd say, sort of the end of Arnheid's whole character arc, as tragic as it is. And that I think this episode is kind of up there with Thorfinn. I think that episode where Thorfinn vows to become like a pacifist and become a different person. They've all been really great. So I haven't really had any complaints about the season at all. I think it's probably, in my opinion, it's actually like a step up from season 1, just because of what Thorfinn has gone through as a character. Even though season 1's still really good.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of a different tone and direction than season 1. And I think people, like, when they go into season 2, they might be turned off by that. But I think it's definitely worth. One of those things is worth it if you stick with it, because I think it really kind of pays off.
Yeah, it definitely pays off by the end of the season by far.
Yeah.
And I think we only have like 4 more episodes left, because it almost seems like at this point it's already at a finale phase.
I mean, it pretty much is. Canute invading Kettle's farm was pretty much like the climax of the farm arc.
Yeah. And what else they're gonna end up, how much of the story they're gonna end up telling in the next 4 episodes? Because we obviously know the next episode is gonna be Canute and Thorfinn meeting each other for the first time since the end of season 1. But I'm curious if
it seems like the end of this season is probably going to be setting up for the next arc in the story, where which I don't want to spoil anything about, but they did mention that they, I guess, are planning to eventually adapt the entire series, is what they were saying, I think, in an interview before season 2 came out. That was what they were planning to do. So I guess we could potentially see other seasons of Vinland Saga, which is exciting, but I'm kind of wondering how that's going to go, because I would really like if they kept the same team, the same crew that worked on this, to work on any like future seasons of it, because I'd be kind of terrified if we ever got like a change in staff, because the director and everybody that's been working on Vinland Saga since season 1 has just been, I mean, this is probably one of the best adaptations of a manga I've seen, honestly. So I definitely want them to continue working on it. Mm-hmm. I feel like if we got a change in staff, it'd definitely be noticeable.
Yeah, I mean we've seen the effects of staff or directorial changes on other animes. Like, I mean, hopefully it won't be the case for this one, but we never know. We never know based on what happens behind the scenes, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, of course, because in between season 1 and 2, we got it changed. I guess technically changed from Studio Wit to Studio Mappa, but it's a little bit weird because it's still the same people that were working on season 1 that are working on season 2. It's just that it changed to Studio Mappa, but it's still, in a way, you could still say it's Studio Wit because it's the exact same people. So I don't know. It's always weird when stuff like that happens. But yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about this episode in particular. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed this episode. I mean, I have to admit, it did bring tears to my eyes after watching that heart-wrenching scene. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what's going to happen next week when Thorfinn confronts Canute about this whole situation. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah. Well, that all being said, guys, until next time, we will see you all later.